Hey, I'm Todd. Thanks for watching my video and do all that good YouTube stuff. Share it, like it, hit the notification bell, thumbs up, subscribe, all the things that you do. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. 2011 GMC Terrain transfer case replacement. I'm going to be getting to the exhaust and removing it so we can, get some stuff out of the way. I'm going to take this out of the way, take this out of the way, 8mm 5/16. This should just basically pull out. And there's a 5/16 or a flat blade screwdriver, also down here a clamp. Some friction fit knobbies. This one's still on the engine. Or one's missing. Taking this bracket out of the way, I think it's two 13mm bolts. Get that bracket out of there and then get the exhaust manifold off, I believe. Or the shield off to get to some bolts. Probably be using this setup here. Yeah. And we'll take off. Oh, looks like we've got some rust going on. We'll take off whatever bolts are left out of the shield and get the shield out of here. Someone's been here before. 10mm bolts. Got the shield off. It was a little tricky. You could take the oxygen sensor out if you need to, but I worked it out. There was a little rust issue because you can see it didn't even take that one bolt out. So got our three 15mm nuts, which I sprayed some with some lubricant. One there, one over there, and one there, and we're gonna zip them loose while we're up here, hopefully. Let the penetrant work for a little bit, then I'm gonna use probably an impact gun of some kind and then zip them off. I use a swivel, an extension, and a 15mm. We will be getting the tire off. You'll need to jack it up. Just the passenger side needs to come off. So there's a good piece of metal right in the front here. You can jack up to get the whole front of the vehicle up. Right here in the middle, center it up, jack it up, use safety stands, protect yourself. And then we'll get the wheel off. So if you don't have any impact tools or air gun tools, you want to take the cover off, break the lug nuts loose a turn or two before you jack the wheel up. Just the wheel won't spin on you. So get this cover off and get the wheel off. .22mm lug nuts. So we'll take the CV axle out, so we'll need to take this nut off. Just stick a screwdriver in here in the vanes. And you can use the caliper. Use the caliper as a brace, either here or here, depending on if you're tightening or loosening, to get that nut off. And maybe we'll take this shield off. A couple clips. There's a special tool, but you can probably just get a little screwdriver in here and pry the centerpiece out. That centerpiece is going to come out. Then you can take the rest out. Just like that. So we'll take that shield off, get a little more room, and get in here. I'll be using a 35mm socket and impact gun to take this nut off. And then I always have problems. The last two I've done, I have not had any luck with this ball joint, so I don't take that off. You can give it a shot, but it's a real pain because you got to pound on this aluminum, which is not good for it. So I usually take these two bolts out. There's nuts on top. Take these two bolts out and take this nut and bolt out here, and I take this part out. A little bit of a pain, but can't separate the ball joint. What are you going to do? So, and then we can get this axle out of here. Disconnect this as long as I'm here before I really get to work. Ooh. Someone's been here before. It's an aftermarket converter back there too, because it's actually held on by nuts and bolts, which if it's original equipment will be studs on the converter going up through the holes to your 15mm nuts. So that was a little different on this one. So, but here we go. We're going to take this off, then we'll take that off and swing it out. Two nuts and bolts in the back. .21mm nut and bolt in the front. We will have to do a little prying. Little clip on here, not sure how important it is, but it is there. And that's out of the way. And we can pry this CV axle out of this section here. Right down in here, we'll get a pry bar, hopefully shoot it out. So one interesting thing, there's usually a bracket here, which is a super duper pain in the butt, and I'll maybe grab a section from another video to show you it. However, it kind of shows that it doesn't necessarily need it. So on your personal vehicle, you could maybe leave it out once you get this all apart, if you choose to. Probably hitting against here. We'll take this bracket out. Yeah, I think so. 15mm bolts. We'll get those all off. There. We'll need to get the driveline out too at some point. 13mm. You want to put it in neutral and spin this around. Use some whiteout and mark this. You can stick a small screwdriver up in this hole and you can hold it in place while you break those bolts loose. Although you could do it further away. You could do it right here. So 13mm bolts and 8mm bolts or 5/16 here. Take those all off. Maybe again, well, you don't need to mark it because you can replace it. So you take those bolts out and take this out. A little careful. It's a little awkward being so long, but you can do it. And so that'll be gone. We'll separate this. See, I got aftermarket bolts. You're probably dealing with 13 or 15mm studs, probably. So you want to separate those. And then we want to take these out. 13mm bolts. 13mm bolts. So we get the exhaust out of here. So do those things next, probably. Well, I got this bracket almost loose, but that's holding the muff exhaust up right now, which I'm not quite to. But here's the drive line, so I got a support here. So if you let this drop down in the middle, that'll give you the free play to pull it out of there in the front, because otherwise it just doesn't come out. So you drop this and you move it left or right as needed. If you swivel it, it'll give you the room to pull it out of there, and then you can use this and you can turn this rear drive line to get to all the bolts. So that's what I've done. I got two more to go. And we can pull the drive line out, and then we'll drop the exhaust as previously mentioned. Hope that's a helpful tip. And again, it's not original equipment, so but there's still a bracket here. So we're going to slide this rubber piece off here. Yours will be a little tougher because it's going to have it's going to look more like that one. A little tougher, but you can get it off with a pry bar and a screwdriver. Pop it off however you can, and then we'll drop this down. It's a pretty tight fit, but it should come down. Again, this is looking easy because this is actually aftermarket, so it's narrower, so sorry about that. You want to get a new gasket here. Maybe a new gasket on the other end too. Where I just kind of randomly start zipping all the bolts off that I can. We talked about these bracket bolts here. Those are all going to have to come undone. There's 3 15mm bolts from up top that come down. I'll probably go back up top and zip those out. Maybe I should have done that before, but I forgot about them. So I'll zip those bolts out. You can actually get to them up here with your hand. You just use a wrench maybe, but that's pretty time consuming. So we're going to get all those bolts out that we can. So various extensions and tools, 15mm bolts. We'll zip them all out that you can get to. And we'll leave these two 18mm for now. So down there is the 3 15mm bolts. Take those out. We can get that bracket moved. I have a nice long extension and a swivel. So you might have to stack a few extensions to do it this way, otherwise you can get it maybe from below, like I mentioned, but it's going to be a lot of wrenching. All right, we're down to our last 2 bolts. I got the bracket. Just kind of pushed it back here, sitting there nicely. So Certainly could probably take it out. And then the other ones here I took out just to show you. Hidden bolt. There's the bolts. That's the bolt for that rear mount that's dangling up there. So there you go. That bracket right there. I have a catch here because I did not drain the transmission. It always says to drain it, so I've always done that. 11 millimeter here to drain it. I'm just going to separate this and maybe pull it out and see how much fluid comes out. So that's just a little experiment for myself. And we did not drain it either. Could probably do that right there. Pull the drain out just in case some fluid comes out from somewhere. And it's a metric Allen 10 millimeter. If you're curious. Got some free play in here. See what the fluid looks like. Well, it doesn't hold more than a quart. It's less than a quart, I believe. And the new one from the factory comes filled. You do want to check it, but it does come filled. The last one lost some fluid out the vent. So not a ton coming out, but there's, oh, I guess it's just the air bloop, 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 bloop. But there's not a lot in there, so we'll drain that. We'll zip up for 2 18 millimeter bolts and see if any tranny fluid comes out. Kind of assuming there will be, but we'll see. So that's transmission fluid. It's not a lot, but as I've been finding, it's awfully black for transmission fluid. So I probably will do a service and drain it. 11 millimeter. We'll just drain all that fluid out of there. So I guess I would recommend, well, it's your choice. You can let it flow and then maybe add another half a quart. I'm not sure how much came out. Not that much, but we'll fill it up. So that's removing your transfer case. Not too bad. We'll throw the new one up there and install it. You got to kind of rotate it clockwise to get the bolts, those two bolts started. Kind of wants to rotate, of course, with the weight on the back. All right, we'll drain some fluid and we'll do some putting back together and some torque specs. Here's a new one. You don't need to worry about any seals. The new one should come with, there's something in here already. So we're good there. No other seals. Verified this new one does come with fluid. I checked it. It's there. It's full. So we can just grab this and mount it up there. So we'll be fighting a little bit with the gears, but not a huge deal. Push it into place and then you can get your two bolts. You'll need to push up on this, push up on that side a little bit because it's going to want to rock. Nope. And put your two bolts in. You'll want to push up on this side because it's going to want to rock down with the weight over here. So it should be not too bad to lift it up and slide it in. Two bolts started. that mount back up there and put things back together. Reverse procedure to install. Give some tips. And on that stud, which you didn't have to deal with the bracket. It's up there like this. You probably just take that off when you're mounting it, make it easier. It's probably getting in the way. You get a 15 millimeter nut on here that has a bracket for the exhaust. So you probably get to it easiest once the exhaust is free. You can wiggle around a little bit, get an extension up there, and a 15 millimeter socket to break that loose and take it out for that bracket if you have it. So I do have a jack underneath here. As far as I can tell, these are all 37 foot-pounds here, and all the bolts going that way. I'm going to start them all by hand at first, so they're all started. Then you can torque them down, 37 foot-pounds. And that one up here too. And then tighten this down, and then get the other bracket in there. And that's 81 foot-pounds up there. Make it tight. So, but again, especially start that bolt, jack this up, start those bolts, and I use a ratchet wrench to tighten two of them down pretty snug, and then I'll torque them from above, but then I can remove my bracket here pretty much. So there's that for torquing. On our way back together. Alright, for this bracket here, the two bolts that go this way into here, 37 foot-pounds. And apparently they want that bolt to be 37 foot-pounds over here. Alright, like this bolt first, 37 foot-pounds, 37 foot-pounds, then the top one, 37 foot-pounds. And then the top two up here, 37 foot-pounds, and the last one to tighten, this one, 37 foot-pounds. There you go, the right way. Alright, I had to dig the old piece out with a hammerhead and a pick. I'm gonna push this one into place. Maybe it'll fit on an aftermarket converter. We'll see, we'll do our best. It's supposed to. See all the black from the exhaust, it was leaking. Alright, going back together, 37 foot-pounds for the three nuts on your studs, hopefully. Of course, I had nuts and bolts. 37 foot-pounds for those three. Then the two bolts and stuff are nuts in the back for the other part of the exhaust is 30 foot-pounds. So, and then I'm going to finish up here, and then I'm going to go down below and put the drive line on and give you some torque specs for that as well. 25, 19, 37. They do want you to use Loctite, so you can get some blue Loctite. Probably be okay to put on the bolt threads. Just a drop on each thread is enough. Tighten them down. Of course, put this in first, like I talked about. Let this hang down so you can get this in and out, and then tighten that up probably last. And now tighten it last because you can turn this whole thing then and tighten those bolts in the back like I talked about. So there you go, putting it back together. Gonna put the axle in again. Gonna have some help from a buddy here, so make things a little easier. Can you help me again hold this out of the way? Boom. And I did take a 13 millimeter bolt out of here. Give it a little more free play for swinging this out. Also, I turn the steering wheel. I turn it to the left a little bit so that sticks out and gives me a little more swing out. So don't forget about your little clippy clip thing there, spacer, whatever. Looks like we're in. I'm going to use the large channel locks on this to rotate it a little bit to get it to go in the slot. There you go. We'll line up this bolt hole here and get that stud in. Bolt. There we go. Then we'll tighten those down. We'll put that bolt back in up here that we took out. And then we'll tighten that nut down. Again, put a screwdriver in the vent here so it stops on there, and we can torque everything down. Tighten this big bolt to about 140 foot-pounds. If there's a smaller bolt, maybe 107. This is a pretty big bolt. I'm going with 140, and these are like 85 foot-pounds then, plus 90-degree turn, so 90 degrees. So tighten them tight. $151 foot-pounds. Just used a 100-pound torque stick, 100 foot-pound torque stick, 22mm lug nuts. Tighten them in a crisscross pattern as tight as you can, then drop it to the ground so the tire's on the ground and not spinning. Then you can torque them down to proper torque spec. 140 foot-pounds. Alright, so center cap, not a huge deal. However, it does have a symbol of a valve stem. And there's the valve stem, so put the sign pointing at the valve stem. Gotta put on some Dexron 6. Here's a cap that screws on and off, threaded right down here. So I'm guessing I lost about a half a cord, so I'm putting in right away. I'm just putting some in. And we're going to run it up to operating temperature and pull out the check plug. So we'll be doing that. Alright, so now we need to monitor transmission fluid temperature to get to 185 to 203 degrees. Right now we're at 89 degrees. So I think we're gonna rev it up a little bit, maybe put it in drive with the foot on the brake. Give it a little bit of gas. And we're just gonna sit here and monitor the transmission fluid temperature until it gets to about 185 to 190. Then we'll check the transmission level. Turn the driver's side, turn it all the way to the right. Actually, you can get right in here and see. So we'll pull that out, 11mm bolt, and we'll see if any fluid comes out. And we'll add fluid to the funnel as needed. Nothing's coming out, so I'm going to add some more fluid to see a little bit coming out. I'm going to add some right to the funnel. So I added about 1.5 quarts, and now we see fluids coming out. I'll go for a test drive, but that would be replacing your transfer case in your GMC Terrain. A few minor differences between the GMC Terrain and the Chevy Traverse, but not too many. Also, this was different because of an aftermarket catalytic converter. Good luck to you.